All right, so we're finally getting going here. I know it's a little late, but hey, this is one of those scenarios better late than never. It's not even Saturday, so that's good. It's a Friday afternoon. We are recording our Thoroughbred show with Chad Summers, who is in Saudi Arabia for the Saudi Cup, which is going to be next Saturday. And of course, he's got his own horse that will be participating in the race prior to that. Good to see you once again, Chad. How's the trip so far?
Cold.
Cold.
Not
Really?
something
Saudi
I thought
Arabia
of.
and cold? I
Not
never would have thought that.
the good thing was coming from New York. I happened to pack my winter hat and my jacket. It's come in handy so far. The first couple of days, it's windy and it's been chilly. It's been in the 40s in the morning time here. So definitely not necessarily what I was expecting. Um, but the horse coming from New York, he's really adapted well to it, chipped over well. So we're not complaining at all. We're happy. Look, it's a long trip. It's a long way to come. It's a lot of miles. It's a lot of planning and preparation, and we're 8 days away. So the countdown just kind of continues. But it's a lot of fun. And anytime you're in these international races, whether it's in Saudi Arabia or Dubai, or even the Breeders' Cup here in the States, and it just has really an Olympic feel to it. So the Americans, there's 7 Americans running in the various races. We shipped over first. Japan got in last night. England and the rest of the European nation is on their way tomorrow. Then we'll have horses shipping over from Dubai and Bahrain later on in the week. So it's just cool. And outside of every one of the barns is the flag of the country that's represented. So it's a pretty cool feeling. You're walking in and you're seeing their stars and stripes underneath your barn. It's pretty cool.
Eh. Well, look, we'll hopefully, unless there's some scheduling issues, be able to talk to you again around this time next week, which you'll be even that much more nervous as you get ready for the race 24 hours or within that range because you're an 8 hour difference. So it's 10 o'clock your time.
Yeah,
And
we'll probably do it on Thursday.
a little early just to get out of the
Next
way. Yeah,
next week.
I hear you. And next week's the Rebels. That's when we up the Kentucky Derby prep points to 50 for the first
Yeah.
time. So that's when you really know.
This weekend. I think is 52. The Risen Star might be 50 as well.
No, it's 20 for 20. I'll
Really?
double check. Let's see. Risen Star is no, actually it is 50. You're right because it
Yeah.
was mixed
Yeah.
in. It's the first 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's 10. Well, we had a bunch of 20s. Then we had the El Camino Real 10, Risen Star 50. Then you got this Japanese race 30, back to 50 for the Rebel. A couple of 20s because that's over, I believe, what in England maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, most of them after that are 50s and 100s. So yes, thanks for correcting me on that. As always,
Oh, and look, I mean, you see it. Look, it's a full field. It's funny. Our friend Jonathan Hardoon always complains sometimes about these 5 and 6 horse fields. Well, when there's points on the line and points determine whether or not you get in, all of a sudden now when we're looking at the Risen Star, 14 horse field,
yeah,
and this is the first of what will be many shoes to fall. The first Bob Baffert horse being transferred over, transfers to Steve Asmussen Harlow Cap to try and get some points in the Risen Star. And this is kind of, it's a little bit silly. Literally, the horse breezed last Saturday in Santa Anita with Bob Baffert. And Steve Asmussen kind of jokingly said, I hope my groom has the right number cloth on so I know what horse to saddle.
yeah,
And, I mean, it's just kind of a little bit
it's
ridiculous.
typical.
But
Yeah,
it is what it is. Like I said, it's just there's going to be several more of these instances over the next few months, and we just have to adjust up to it on the fly. And look, I mean, Steve Asmussen's about to win his 10,000th career race. It would be ironic if it came with this horse that he doesn't even know. But it's one of those things where when you're handicapping, it's important to know certain things because you'll sit there and you'll say, hey, look, oh, this horse is with such and such trainer. And you see it a lot in New York. Look, there's 9, 10 trainers that have been suspended over the last 8 or 9 months. Linda Rice is going to have a 10-day suspension. The horse is going to go to Adam Rice. It doesn't mean that anything's necessarily changed. It's not that all of a sudden it's with a bad trainer. Things. No, the program has remained the same. And especially with Harlow Cap here, literally he's going to be in the care of Steve Asmussen for 6 days leading into this race. So even though it says Steve Asmussen's name on the trainer line, when you're handicapping, you have to say this is a Bob Baffert horse. And I know we're going to get to the Risen Star later on in the program, but that horse is 8-1 morning line, and I'm curious if that said Bob Baffert next to it and not Steve
Yeah,
Asmussen,
right.
if he's not
Yeah,
4-1 or 5-1.
yeah.
I just thought that was interesting.
That's a good point. Yeah, so a lot to talk about here on the show. Matter of fact, this is about the time when you get back,
Yeah.
we're gonna really start to go over your. We'll have your first top 10 Derby rankings. So we'll go over that. I've already started to take a look at all the races, and we'll go over just as a quick review of what's happened since the first of the year on these
We had a
prep
good week.
races.
Had a good week last week.
Yes, everything went well last week. Hit show winning the Withers. We'll get into that. Before we get into the races, just
And
want
for
to.
our man Caesar, wait for our man Caesar, we came through in the Golden Gate race.
That's right. That was Chase the Chaos.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think we would have hit a bigger exact if it wasn't for Baffert's Gilmore.
Never finished third. Yeah.
Yeah, he came from nowhere on the inside and kind of blew our a bigger payout.
Well, he finished third. So
yeah. So still pretty good. Viewer comments are always welcomed, and JW commented, said, sad how few times they race the horses up to the Kentucky Derby now. Shows how bad the breeding industry is, I guess.
Well, I agree with him. I mean, look, there's a few factors in this. Okay, one, we breed for speed now. We no longer breed for soundness. So from a trainer standpoint, it's very tough to keep these horses sound, which obviously equates to them running less. The second part of it's twofold in the breeding industry. One, these horses are worth so much as stallions that they want to retire them so young. And when they do that, you want to have their record intact. You want to have a good record. So all of a sudden, you're having horses that had good 2-year-old seasons and feel like they have foundation and they want to make it to the Kentucky Derby, but they want to give them a break, and these breaks are extended. And it's interesting. Every trainer is different. Where Bob Baffert, for the most part, I know Corniche and now Cave Rock had some longer breaks than normal, but Bob Baffert likes to train through the winter. Todd Pletcher, normally you'll see him train through the winter. Brad Cox trains through the winter. So there's not really an off season for them. Where Chad Brown looks big picture, long term, I'm going to turn my horse out for a little bit. Tom Amos, who's been on the Derby Trail a little bit, he's won a Kentucky Oaks before. He turned the horses out a little bit. We'll see the return of Curly Jack. But horses like Forte, who won the Breeders' Cup for Todd Pletcher, this is by design to go only have 2 preps, go to the Fountain of Youth, and then either the Florida Derby or the Bluegrass. Blazing Sevens for Chad Brown, following that same kind of path in mind. And Cave Rock just breezed for the very first time last Monday. Now he has his own stuff going on with Baffert. Does he want to run on the Derby, et cetera, et cetera? But it's a true point, and it's one of those things that kind of takes away the stars of the game. And when you're talking about from a marketing standpoint, do you market the jockeys? Do you market the trainers? The horse is what should be marketed, but they're gone as soon as you close your eyes and snap your fingers. They're gone.
Like Flyline.
And it's kind of ironic because I think back about the Pegasus a few weeks ago. Art Collector was a fan favorite of mine for years. Loved him in the Preakness. I thought Tom Drury did a great job with him. And I'm sitting there. I remember talking to you before the Pegasus. And this horse is, what's he doing in here? He should retire.
Yeah,
he's been around for too long. And sure enough, he's crossed the wire first and winning a $3 million race. So look, I mean, it's good to see. It's good to see them around. It's a lot of fun to see the stars go on, and there's just not enough of it, especially when you're talking about these Derby preps. I mean, horses are breaking their maiden and swinging for the fences, and it's just your average start is 3 or 4 starts, 5 starts maybe before the Derby. It's kind of crazy.
I was talking to my golf analyst, Jared Smola from Draft Sharks, the other day, and about what else do we handicap and make money on gambling. And I mentioned horse racing, and he goes, "Oh, great! I didn't realize it. I got to check out your shows around Derby time." And so we got into this conversation about it, and it was like his problem was not really being able to follow it on.
Sure.
I can't find it on television.
Oh,
And
that's true.
and that's what we've talked about. That is the biggest issue. There's no continuity, and I mean, the scheduling is laid out right there for you. All the broadcasters or the networks have to do, if there was, what I'm sure money is the major factor, is to come up with a nice little system and get everybody involved. Hey, every week it's Derby prep week, and they just nobody does it. So I don't know what the major problem is with that, but again, money is the culprit
No,
as
but
usual.
JW does raise good points, though, for sure.
All right, now let's talk. So let's go through it, starting with last week. So we had the 20-point races, and last week, as we mentioned, Hit Show wins the Withers at Aqueduct. We had Litigate winning the Sam F. Davis at Tampa Downs, and as we mentioned, Chase the Chaos at El Camino Real. Talk about those three. Who impressed you the most?
I mean, Hit Show would be the answer. He's a very diminutive horse. He's not very big. Cool horse. Sat the right trip. Really aggressive. Great ride from jockey Manny Franco. I thought he kind of willed him the victory, making that final, kind of a little bit of an early mid move, but kind of forcing the issue on Arctic Arrogance, who, again, I think he's a nice horse. I just don't think he's a Derby horse. And he ran second and was fine. Hit Show won by many. The most impressive thing about Hit Show was the gallop out. Manny Franco didn't want to, couldn't get him to pull up. So all of a sudden you say, oh, this is a horse that wants to run in the Kentucky Derby. Well, the thing is, it wasn't the toughest race. Great job by Brad Cox scratching out of the race in Oaklawn, where he probably, even if he ran the same race, was not going to beat Arctic Knight. But gets the job done, gets the victory over here, and we'll see him next in the Wood. And the Wood Memorial will be the true test for that horse, because that'll be a real field that he's facing, and we'll see what he's made of in the Wood. As far as Litigate's concerned, happy for our friends at Centennial Farm. They spent a lot of money in this game. Most of their horses are with Jimmy Jerkins. I think Jimmy Jerkins is a fantastic trainer. This one's with Todd Pletcher. Pletcher's won the Sam F. Davis 7 times. Ironically, none of those 7 have ever gone on to win the Kentucky Derby. So take it as you see it. Horse got the job done. Time was not impressive.
Competition wasn't very impressive when it turns out.
Numbers were not very impressive.
Yeah.
The heavy favorite W&L was a complete no-show. It was, I think, a huge long shot that was almost stole the race, really, that finished second. I need to see more from Litigate.
Yeah.
He was very good when he broke his maiden. He was very average when he lost the allowance race. He was decent in the Sam F. Davis. Imagine he goes next to the Tampa Bay Derby. It's a quirky track. I'm not sold on Litigate yet as a Derby prospect. And as far as Chase Zacchaeus goes, he was 0 for 2 with Robertino Diodoro. He's had all his success now with Ed Moger. We talked last week that Ed does a really good job, underrated trainer, based up there in Northern California at Golden Gate. He has a win in your end now for the Preakness by winning that race.
Yeah.
You'd imagine you have to look at the Derby. So
of course,
you see him next in a race at Santa Anita, a race like the Santa Anita Derby, the San Felipe. Do you see him, taking the route less traveled, going to a race like the Sunland Park Derby and trying to backdoor with extra points to get into the race? Or do you see him say, I'm content just waiting for the Preakness and not even point for the Derby? Everybody kind of gets Derby fever. I would imagine you got to at least try him in a Derby prep race and see what happens.
Yep.
But that's TBD at this point. I thought he ran well. He ran very well in the allowance race last time. He seems to be a horse that's getting better as he's figuring out the game. He was visually impressive. So he would probably be second most impressive, Litigate third, and Hit Show 1. But are any of those 3 the Derby winner at this point? I'm not ready to put a ring around them.
All right. Well, again, just quickly, the others up until January 1st, 20-point races. You had the Robert B. Lewis win from Newgate. You had
0 points. And Newgate's now out with a hock issue. He was off the Derby.
Okay, out. And then at the Holy Bull, that was Rocket Can, Mott's horse. Southwest, we had Arabian Night, and the Lecomte, we had Instant Coffee. So out of that,
now the interesting thing with that grouping, Rocket Can, certainly impressive. Very interested to see where he goes next for trainer Bill Mott. Bill Mott had like a 3-week streak there where, he's like the old NBA Jam video game where they go, he's on fire. That was Bill Mott. It was capped off by Rocket Can winning and shadow dancing it or Shadow Dragon at 80-1 or whatever, running second. So I want to see that horse run back. Instant Coffee, look, cool horse, hard knocker, 3-for-4 lifetime, a win already at the Churchill Downs track. Skips the Risen Star by design to point for the Louisiana Derby. He's a horse who, like Hit Show, not the biggest horse in the world, but he's run well in these 6-week spells. He's kind of run 6 weeks between the Jockey Club, where he was fourth, or the Breeders' Futurity, where he was fourth at Keeneland, to the Jockey Club, which he won. 6 weeks to the Lecomte, which he won. 6 weeks now to the Risen Star, and then 6 weeks to the Kentucky Derby. So it's all by design that he's had these 6 weeks kind of breaks and programs. Continues to show up and rock out. If he didn't run well in the Lecomte, he would have been here with me in Saudi Arabia, running for $2 million in that race. But he stays on the Derby Trail. He's second in points, so certainly excited about Instant Coffee. And the interesting thing about Arabian Night, look, he's a Bob Baffert horse, and he is right now in Vegas, the heavy favorite in the Derby pool.
Heavy favorite.
And the Churchill ones, they refused to have him on the list, so he's all other 3-year-olds. So he's grouped up with a horse who's never run before, or every other horse in my barn, because they're not listed on the list.
Yeah.
And there's a chance that he doesn't go to the Kentucky Derby and just points for the Preakness. Look, everything that's going on right now, that horse is owned by Zidane Racing, who famously owned Medina Spirit, which has caused all this controversy over the last few years. Now, last year, we said the same thing. He had Taiba. Taiba ended up winning the San Diego Derby, going to the Kentucky Derby. Again, he probably moves. He probably runs in somebody else's name. It wouldn't surprise us. But there is a chance that Arabian Night might not run in the Kentucky Derby. And so I would just hold off on my Derby future wagers on Arabian Night.
Okay. And out of that group, is Arabian Night the best at this point? The one we just talked about?
It's a good question. You're supposed to say yes, okay? He's run twice. He's won by open lens both times. Last time was in a sloppy track. The first time was a Keeneland on Breeders' Cup Day. And other than Flightline, he might have been the most impressive winner on the day. He runs really, really wide. I don't love his mechanics.
So he's still a little immature.
No, it's just kind of the way he's made. It's not going to stop him from being brilliant. It's just the way that his running style. He's very, very fast, but when he breaks over, he kind of breaks out like a swimmer, doing like kind of the breaststroke,
okay,
rather than doing like the regular, your freestyle, whatever. So when you're inefficient mover, going a mile and a quarter, going further distances, does that catch up to you? Look, if you're that much better than everyone else,
sure,
it doesn't matter. And right now, you're supposed to say he's that much better. But I want to see more. Again, like JW mentioned in the comments, he's only run twice.
Yes.
He's not running back in the Rebel. When we see him next, I'd imagine would either be the Arkansas Derby, which he had the success at Arkansas, or the San Diego Derby. He'll have one last race before either the Derby / Preakness. And I want to see it again.
Yeah.
I want to see it again.
And if he continues that style, that could be crazy for a 20-horse Derby field.
It's certainly possible, but he's fast, he's nice,
yeah,
and his acceleration when he switches leads, it's like a souped-up car. You have your NASCAR shows and stuff like that. He's the Ricky Hendricks or whatever, the barn that the ones that win, the garage that wins every year.
Sure,
that's Arabian Night. He has this turn on switch that it almost looks like he's in Fast and Furious.
Well, we certainly hope we get that one more race. If he does race in the Derby, that would be great. Otherwise, it does sound like he is the horse to beat at this point. And then the 10-point prep races, you had the Smarty Jones Victory Formation was a heavy favorite, won that one. Jerome won the Aquid. In the Jerome, it was Lugan Knight winning that one. McCarthy trained that horse. Sham, that was the Baffert Sham. But he had the long shot win. Reincarnate. Beating his other two horses, Newgate, who we just talked about, who's done, and National Treasure, who was the 3-5 favorite in that race.
Yeah, and they're still holding out hope that National Treasure's okay. I'm not sure where him and Reincarnate run back. I'd imagine the next prep in San Diego we'd see one or both of them.
Okay.
No, it's interesting. Lugan Knight. I don't think that the barn thinks he's a Derby horse, even though he has these Derby points, and he's going to run back in the Gotham in 2 weeks at Aqueduct, where he'll be the favorite or among the favorites. But the Gotham is 1 mile. It's a one-turn mile. That's probably what he wants to do. Michael McCarthy, very smart. He skipped these other prep races that were further, gave the horse a little bit more time, and he ran well in the Jerome. But he's not one that's a Derby contender. Even if he wins the Gotham, I don't consider him a Derby contender. I don't think he wants to go a mile and a quarter. I don't think the barn thinks he wants to go a mile and a quarter. And as far as victory formation is concerned, it kicks off into the Risen Star. We're going to learn a lot. Saturday night, we're going to know all we need to know about victory formation.
On Saturday night?
Well, he's running in the Risen Star. So if he were to progress, look, 14-horse field, top quality field.
Yes.
He's gonna have to earn it. He's 3 for 3. He's done everything the right way.
Oh, okay. That's the horse that has 3 13s on the sheets.
He's actually, when he won the allowance race at Keeneland on Kentucky Jockey Club Day, he beat Lugan Knight. Lugan Knight was 4th in that race, and from that went on to win the Jerome.
Okay.
The horse that was 2nd is a Chris Hartman horse that came back and ran 2nd, beating a nose at 4-5 in a stake at Oaklawn. It's interesting. He's by, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but he's by Taprit, who was a Belmont Stakes winner. So you think he wants to go all day. I'm still not convinced that he really wants to stretch out and run that far, even though his father won going a mile and a half.
I also noticed, now I haven't been doing this a long time, so you can let me know based on your experience.
You're here for a good time, not a long time, as my friend Drake likes to say.
Okay. Reincarnate, as I mentioned, the only long shot that we've talked about. Is that normal, or because I look at this and I say that's good. We've talked about all these Kentucky Derby prep races. We only have one long shot that is won, and it was a Baffert horse.
It has 0 points.
So is that normal, or is that telling you, yeah, you know what? Maybe this is a year that the cream is rising to the top, for whatever reason.
It's a great question. It's a great question. I don't think I can answer it right now.
Okay.
I mean,
still early.
It's one of those things where, it's been pretty formful week in, week out. Well, not maybe the favorite hasn't won every race, but one of the choices, one of the ones that made sense, kind of thing. And even Reincarnate, it wasn't impossible to find.
Yeah, Baffert. Yeah,
it's something where, look, will there be an upset or two? Probably. It happens. But if you look at last year, it seemed like it was okay. It seemed like there was 2 or 3 horses that were dominating everything, and then the horse that didn't even get in the race won the race. So, the long shot won at the most inopportune time, or most opportune time, if you bet Rich Strike.
That's true. That's no doubt about that. All right, now we have the Rebel, so that's coming up next Saturday. So that's at Oaklawn Park. So can't wait to talk about that. And then in 2 weeks, it's the Fountain of Youth, the Gotham, and the San Felipe, all on the same day. So things are starting to percolate. We're doing fairgrounds in this show. The one race we're not going to do is race 11. That's the Fairground Stakes. That's the race with Tiz the Bomb in it, the horse that won that prep race last year before the Derby, and also was second.
Ruby Stakes.
Yeah,
Jeff Ruby Stakes.
And it was also second in that Breeders' Cup race the year before. So Tiz the Bomb is the 9-2. Not the favorite, but 9-2 in that race at Fairgrounds. That's the only noticeable horse that I picked out. All right. So
the important race that we're not covering is the race for Alexandra, and the reason for that is the filly who we talked about as kind of the breakthrough star 3-year-old division in our preview show, Hoosier Filly, and Hoosier Filly is one of 2 fillies nominated for the Kentucky Derby. The list just came out. There's 369 horses.
Okay.
Nominated to the Derby. Only 2 fillies. She's one of them. The other one was Julia Shining, who got beat the other day in Tampa. But look, Hoosier Filly is undefeated filly. She was arguably the most impressive 2-year-old filly all year. I know Wonder Wheel won the Eclipse Award, but what she did in her short period of time was very, very impressive. She was faster than Instant Coffee the same day on the Jockey Club Gold Cup day, even though she got a slower buyer number. That's why buyer numbers make no sense. But she's one that, at the time, it's interesting because after the race, trainer Tom Amos was very bullish, and he goes, "Oh, maybe we'll think about the first Saturday in May with her." And then they're interviewing him this week, and he goes, and she nominates her for the Derby, and then he goes, "Oh, I'm just thinking about this race. I'm not thinking about the Derby." He's thinking about the Derby. Let me tell you something. He's thinking about the Derby, and the way she ran, and the videos that I've seen on Twitter of how she's worked, have really been eye catching. Look, Chop Chop's in this race. Chop Chop was second in the Grade 1 before the Breeders' Cup last year. Ran bad in the Breeders' Cup and then was second last time out in the undercard on the Lecomte. She's a talented filly. Cherie DeVoe has a really nice filly in there. If Hoosier Filly is to dominate this group off the layoff, there's going to be a lot of talk. And we had this with Secret Oath last year. And all of a sudden, everybody loves Secret Oath, and she ran against the boys in the Arkansas Derby. If she dominates this race, which I think she can, I'm telling you right now, this filly will run against the boys next time out in a 100-point.
That makes sense.
I don't care what Tom Amos says now. I don't care what he says tomorrow. This filly will run in a 100-point prep race next time out if she were to do what I think she can do on Saturday.
Who was the filly that ran? Which prep race did that filly run last year? Arkansas?
So she ran in the filly. It's the Goldenrod. She won the Goldenrod on November 26th.
No, I mean before she was. Which was the filly that was just similar quality horse that raced with the boys in the Kentucky Derby prep race?
Secret Oath last year.
What race was that?
She ran in the Arkansas Derby against Cyberknife, and then won the Kentucky Oaks after realizing that she couldn't beat Cyberknife.
All right. Who's your filly?
But Cyberknife never beat anybody. So
yeah. Who's your filly again? 6-5 morning line. Do you think she's going to go off 6-5?
I think Brad's horse keeps it somewhat close in the wagering. I think she'll take a lot of money. I think Vava for Cherie DeVoe will take some money.
Chop chop.
I think Hoosier Philly should be 1-5, but I think she'll stay somewhere close to that 6-5 number. Yeah, I don't know, maybe 4-5, but it'll be close.
All right, so that's race number 12, I believe, at Fairgrounds. Yeah. And so those are a couple of races we are not going to talk about, but actually the ones we're not going to handicap. So the ones we are going to handicap at Fairgrounds, before we get to the Risen Star, let's talk about race number 10. And this is 1 mile and 1/16, the Mineshaft. So this is for 4-year-olds and up. And it was I had about 5 horses out of this group. Let's see, we have 9 that I was targeting. The 2 that I like the most, let's start with Run. Well, odds-wise, I like Run Classic at 10-1. Now, this horse missed 16 months between March of 21st and September of 22nd. Impressively, came back with a 10 and won the race. Won 2 races and then ran a 4 the race after that. So I'm really impressed. Yeah, the 15 at Fairgrounds and last time out at the Louisiana Stakes, that concerns me. But if you throw that out, I love these sheet numbers. I like the way that this horse looks here. Calhoun, obviously, excellent trainer. Got, a Gutierrez is hot. So if I'm getting 10-1, I feel pretty good about using a horse like Run Classic to try to make some money in the race.
Here's the question. You want to throw out a race that the horses who beat him are right back in the same race. So, look, the first and second finishers of the race were very, very impressive, and they're back again. So he might have had fast sheet numbers, but he had the same fast sheet numbers when he ran against these horses last time.
That's the question. What happened? Maybe he had a bad day.
I don't have enough of an excuse in that last race.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I wasn't sold on Happy American going into the last race. And maybe that was my fault because he started to kind of figure out the game, and he was really, really good when he won the Tenacious 2-back. And, he showed signs that he was putting it all together. But, man, he had a dream trip 2-back, and that was why I let's see. He was really good last time for Neil Pessin. He was really, really good winning the stakes last time out. And he looks, obviously he loves Fairgrounds. He's a horse that's in great form. Neil Pessin is a very underrated trainer. He did so well with Bells the One over the last few years. Glad to see him have another big horse in the barn. And I know Mr. Wireless gave him all he can handle, and Mr. Wireless is back in this race again.
That's the question. Because if you look at it, those 2 horses have run the same race the last 2 races. Happy American winning both. Mr. Wireless got a little bit closer last time out. So you're thinking, well, maybe he just needs that third race to get him. But you look at the sheets, the last three for Mr. Wireless, 2 9s in those two races. By the way, those two races, Happy American, 2 9s. Mr. Wireless, the race before that, ran a 6. Happy American ran a 10. So Happy American has never run a 6 or a 7, which Mr. Wireless has done. But head to head, the last two, it has been Happy American.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you got to take that all into consideration for sure. And this race, look, I thought Zozos was a layup last time, and Zozos was just a no show. It was really really disappointing. Brad Cox is back this time with a Zozos light, Tawny Port. Tawny Port, a horse who actually ran against. We talked about that horse that won the Jeff Ruby Stakes, Tis the Bomb.
Yes.
Tawny Port was in that race and won the Lexington, ran in the Kentucky Derby, ran to the Jim Dandy, ran well.
It's been off for 5 months.
Cool horse. I think Zozos is better than him, but good to see the return of Tony Port. I don't like Tony Port in this race, but just cool to see the return of Tony Port.
And then the other horse that intrigues me is one of your early Derby horses last year, Pioneer of Medina. Because if you look at Pioneer of Medina, all right, so the sheets were looking really good heading into the Kentucky Derby, 14.98. Then that disastrous Derby, and really 3 race stretch that was just really bad. But this horse has just gotten incrementally better since then. As a matter of fact, the last 3 races, 14, 11, and 10. And the last 2 at this distance, Saez on board, that's a plus. And we're getting close to 5-1.
Normally, whatever Todd Pletcher wants, Todd Pletcher gets. Okay? And he's earned it. He's a Hall of Fame trainer. This horse was second last time in the Mr. Prospector, which should have earned him an entry into the Pegasus. He was not invited. They took the Saffie Joseph horses that finished behind him, O'Connor, over this horse. So they said, okay, let's regroup. We'll come to the Saudi Cup, $20 million. The owner is, friends with some of the people here in Saudi. He was like 38th on the nomination list, wasn't invited. So he's quickly becoming the Rodney Dangerfield of the Todd Pletcher barn. When you talked about his numbers looking good going into the Kentucky Derby, those races were at fairgrounds.
Yes.
He won the allowance race. He came back and ran in the Louisiana Derby. He obviously likes the track. He's not a bad shipper.
Great point.
You got a great jockey on board. You got top connections, and you're getting fair value.
Yes.
100% on Pioneer of Medina. He's a horse that I would definitely use. I don't know what his ceiling is, but he fits with this group. There's no reason to think that he couldn't be competitive at all with this group. And like I said, he's done well on this track. The only other horse that I want to talk about that's a little bit of a price, and that's going to be Paul McGee's horse. Now, this horse, what's the name of the horse?
Big Blue Line.
Yeah, Big Blue Line. This is a horse coming off of a really, really impressive allowance race last time.
Best of his career.
He doesn't have the same kind of buzz and hoopla as a Pioneer Medina or Tawny Port or even Happy American and Mr. Wireless. But they've always kind of liked this horse. He ran 4th in the St. Louis Derby, the FanDuel St. Louis Derby. He's kind of been a fringe player. He's run some races. I don't know what the sheet line is, but he's run some races that would make him competitive, I think. If he shows with a top race, if he can run the race he ran last time and improve a little bit, and Paul McGee, brother of turf rider Marty McGee, does a great job. He won a race on Kentucky Derby Day like 9 years in a row. It's pretty cool. But he knows what he's doing. He knows how to take care of a good horse. And I think you get rewarded. I think he's a fair price on the morning line. And he's one that I'm going to use up and down across the board. I'll use him with Pioneer of Medina, and I think you have to use Happy American, Mr. Wireless now. But to me, he's the outlier in here that if you want something out of the box, maybe you look at him.
Yeah, as far as the sheets, the last 3 races, 17, 12, 9. And the 9, as I said, best race of his career. Did have an 11 back in May, so this is only a 2-point top from the 11.
Yeah, I don't think the race was an anomaly. I don't think the race was one of those, head scratchers. Where did this 9 come
Yeah.
from? I think there's a little bit more room to grow from, and I think he's got the right running style to do so. So I'm excited about this horse at a little bit of a price.
All right, so that is the Mineshaft Stakes. Now let's wrap up with the Risen Star. Lots of competition in the Risen Star. Lots of horses to keep an eye on. We already talked about the favorite, Victory Formation. Now, Victory Formation's got the 13th post, and never been outside before. Well, 8th position, I should say. But not 13th. And the horse wants to lead, so that's basically what we're seeing, right? We're going to see Victory Formation just gun it from the start to get up to the lead.
I think he's going to try. I mean, look, determinedly for Marquesi is he's pretty fast horse himself. He was very disappointing in the gun runner, but came back and got back to business. And Brad's other horse, Tappett's Conquest, he has 3 in the race. I should say. He also has Angel Empire, but Tappett's Conquest. We were talking before the Lecomte with Instant Coffee that he was cross-entered. Does he go to the allowance race or the Lecomte? If he goes to the Lecomte, he's low in speed. Well, he ends up in the allowance race, and I don't know if he missed a break or broke slow or broke in a tangle, whatever it is, he ends up last. He's last early on in that race. But, I mean, he has speed. I don't foresee the Brad Cox horses getting into a speed duel per se, but it's interesting to see how they break and how they go, because Brad's not a guy who's going to sit there and tell you to hold horse, very much like Bob Baffert. If you're forward, you're forward. Just go ahead and take advantage of your position. And he has a better post than Victory Formation. So going into the first turn, and it's a longer run to the first turn. So if this was the Pegasus, this one a little more time to get over. It's not as big a deal, but you still don't. And horses like Victory Formation in 13 and Private Creed in 14 were not done any favors.
Yeah, because those were actually the other 2 horses I was looking at besides the 13 were the 8 and the 14. So Private Creed, look, 12-1 is really nice when you talk about this horse, who's the highest earning horse in the field. Obviously, you got a big deal that sticks out. The horse has, never been on dirt before. What do you think about that?
It's that time of the year where dreams are made of, right? What all plus agents tell their clients on, right? He has every right to Derby Dream, and he breezes good on the dirt, and let's give it a go. And look, pedigree wise, it looks like he can do it. Like he's bred to handle it, but it's going to be with somebody else's money for me. The Asmussen barn's been pretty cold so far this year, unusually cold for them. He's not one of their top.
It's been okay at Fairgrounds.
Prospects. They run another horse on the card. I don't know if it's at Oaklawn or Fairgrounds, but a horse named Disarm. That's a gun runner cult that they're very, very high on.
Okay.
That horse also runs this weekend. That's one to keep an eye on, that allowance race, but could end up in one of these 100-point races next time out. He's not even my favorite Asmussen horse in the race. I like Harlow Cap. I know it's Baffert / Asmussen, whatever. He's faced some serious horses. He didn't break his mane until his 3rd start, but the first start he got beat by a really, really nice horse of Mark Ladd that ended up breaking down, running in a Grade 1 last time. He was 2nd in that race. Came back and ran 2nd behind another Baffert horse, and then was very professional winning that. And, when he was 2nd last time, 2 starts back, the horse that was 3rd or 4th, or it might have been the first race, Tall Boy, he came back and won the prep for the UAE Derby last week in Dubai. So kind of flattered the form a little bit of who he's faced and who he's run against. For all reports that I've heard, he breezed really, really well in California under the watchful eye of Bob Baffert on Saturday before shipping over to Fairgrounds. And you're getting 8-1.
Yes.
With John Velasquez, who's been aboard all 3 starts. So Velasquez, Hall of Fame jockey, knows him very well. Probably knows him better than Steve Asmussen does at this point. So he might have to tell Steve what he's going to do in the race rather than the trainer telling the jockey what to do. But more than fair odds, I think. He's one that I think you really have to keep an eye on in this race.
Well, a couple of closers are interesting. You have the 6, Angel of Empire. an 8-1 shot, 3 races on dirt, 27, 18, 16, going in the right direction there. You got Cox and Saez. It's a great combo. And the other closer, Sun Thunder, that's the McPeak horse at 15-1. Has only been better each race. 18, 17, 15 last time out. Only 3 weeks off, though. That's a little bit of a potential issue there. Do you like any of the closers to possibly, if they could take advantage of a
I
fast
think
pace?
Look, I think Angel Empire is too slow. I know he was second to Victory Formation last time, but it was a suck up second more so than a really hard fought earned second. Luis Saez is here. I think Luis Saez was hoping he was getting back on Victory Formation, who he rode two back and broke his maiden on, but he elected to stay in Florida that day instead of going to Arkansas. And Flavian Pratt was quick to say, "Oh, I'll go. Pick me, pick me." Flavian Pratt doesn't want to give up that mount. So
Yeah.
Luis Saez ends up on the third Brad Cox horse in the race. He's had a lot of success. He rides Instant Coffee for the barn. So obviously, it pays to be, close to the Brad Cox arsenal. But I don't like this horse very much.
Okay.
I think he's just okay. His 2 wins previously came at Indiana Grand, and he needs to get faster. Sun Thunder's interesting because he's probably a little too slow right now, even with that 15. I mean, at this stage, when you're talking about this race, you're probably going to run a 10.
Yes, sure.
Right?
That's
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
you're getting kind of, you need to progress now to that,
Yep.
fringe, single digit low number. He needs to get much faster. Now, he's okay. He's visually he's okay. The victory was impressive. His Southwest fourth wasn't bad last time. Kenny McPeak certainly knows what he's doing. He's got a really strong pedigree. Southern Cypress Farm stayed in for half the horse with Ramon Talaj. I can see this horse making noise, and at 15-1 on that long fairground stretch, if you wanted to include him in your tickets, your exotics, your trifectas, I have no issue with that whatsoever. I just don't know that at this stage right now, he's done enough to me to promote and say he's a win candidate.
To win, yeah.
I think he can. I think he can improve. I think he can pick up a piece. But I don't feel strongly enough about him to win. I think Tappett's Conquest and Harlow Cap would be my top 2 choices. Victory Formation wouldn't be a shock. I'm just not completely sold on him yet.
Oh, interesting on that then. Okay, so 8 and 5 are your top 2. And what about Curly Jack? The 9 at 8-1. You have a horse that's got a good combo right now as far as the trainer jockey doing really well at fairgrounds. This is an up and down horse, one of those up and down sheet horses. 16-19, 14-16, 15-18. Well, that says, all right, we're going forward this time based on that inconsistency. But the best we've seen is a 14. And this horse has raced in a lot of big races, including the Breeders' Cup race at Keeneland last November.
He's a cool horse. He is. They've changed his running style a few times. He was really kind of a speed heavy horse early on in Saratoga. That didn't work out for him. Changed his running style, came from off it, and he won. The Breeders' Cup, just everything kind of went wrong. Came back and ran well with all the traffic in the Kentucky Jockey Club, running second behind Instant Coffee. My concern with this horse is trainer speak, and I'm well versed in it, right? And it's almost like lawyer talk or used car salesman talk. And Tom Amos was quoted saying, "Well, it's a 14-horse field. My horse is a 1-run closer," which not, but my horse is a 1-run closer. It's tough. His first race back. We'll be happy if he picks up a piece. To me, and then you see what he says about who's your filly. She's done everything we've asked. We're excited about this race. We're only looking at this race. Okay, so you have the 2 best 3-year-olds in your barn, and you're saying completely different things.
Yeah,
I'm going to take the one you're saying, unless you're cold watering, like Vladimir Serin used to do or something like that. If you are who you are, I'm going to believe you that Who's Your Filly is the real deal, and I'm going to think that Curly Jack's going to need a race. He's a nice horse. He can pick up a piece, but again, not a win candidate for me. And the same thing goes with Keith DeSormo's horse in here. I do think we just briefly have to mention DeSormo's horse because he's only a $65,000 purchase. DeSormo has done this for years, had a lot of success buying horses for not a lot of money and developing. They take a few races and they kind of come along. This horse was very good last time. He won by 6 maiden. Obviously, you're stepping into the Lions. Then now the water's much deeper, but he's a horse who, if he were to show up and run a big race, would not surprise me at all.
The good thing is 30-1. The bad thing is, in a way, well, the other good thing is mentioned. Best race last race was a 13. That was a 3-point top. But the problem is that we're barely a month after that race, so the bounce factor definitely comes into play. But look, you're getting 30-1 or higher, so why not?
There is one important last note that I do have to mention on this race. There's one horse in the race who's not Triple Crown nominated. It's the one horse whose name is
Quiet as Midnight.
Quiet as Midnight. He is running at Fairgrounds. Okay? Look at the name of the ownership group on Quiet as Midnight.
Okay.
Po' Boy Racing. And Louisiana is known for their shrimp po' boys. So just something to keep in mind at 50-1. That Po' Boy Racing in Louisiana has this horse running.
Well, okay. Well, what are po' boys?
It's a sandwich.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Look, I like to eat, Craig. I like to eat.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you did.
There's a shrimp po' boy, and there's another. I forgot what the other thing is.
Okay.
But I'm a big shrimp po' boy guy. When I go down to the bayou, I like to get me a shrimp po' boy.
Yeah, well, based on his sheet numbers.
No, he probably has no chance.
No,
but I do like the sandwich for whatever reason.
And by the way, the 4-horse Determinedly.
Yes.
This horse has been pretty consistent the last 4 races, which are the only 4 races. Well, yeah, the 4 the 5 on dirt. 14, 12, 15, 14. So that hasn't been totally bad. This was
here's the thing with Determinedly. He was really, really highly thought of. Really highly thought of. Disappointed in the gun runner. No excuse. Came back in the allowance race. Luis Saez rode a great race. Took it to him early. Led throughout. Was able to hold off Tappett's Conquest. Many will argue that maybe Tappett's Conquest was best in the race. But I thought Determinedly ran very well. Luis Saez jumps off Determinedly.
Yes.
To ride the 3rd horse for Brad Cox. Now, I understand there's trainer politics and stuff like that involved. But it is interesting that he's getting off Determinedly as his Derby. Look, he rode Litigate. He rides Instant Coffee. He rides Tappet Trice. The coffers are deep right now for the Luis Saez camp. But it's interesting to note that he hops off that horse. I think Determinedly runs best in front or on the lead, and there's other speed in this race. It's going to force the issue. He's not going to be able to clear and get a breather. And so it's going to be really, really important. I think it was Ray Lou riding the horse, right? Ray Lou Gutierrez is aboard?
Yes.
So, I mean, Ray Lou's riding great, but this is going to have to be the best ride of his life to get this victory. And it takes nothing away from the horse. It's just the situation, 14-horse field. He needs to break and go and somehow find a crease to get a little bit of a breather. And I don't foresee that happening in this race.
So he's going to try to get to the lead like Harlow Cap and Victory Formation.
And Tappett's Conquest. I just think there's a lot of early pressure in this race, and it's just one of those things. Harlow Cap might be the fastest, to be honest with you, because he's got that Bob Baffert speed, and that Bob Baffert speed, even though he's trained by Steve Asmussen, that Bob Baffert speed is pretty dynamic. I remember being at the Preakness. I'll never forget this. So Authentic had won the Kentucky Derby. This was the COVID year, and Authentic won the Derby, and they're running back in the Preakness, and John Velasquez was sitting off of the other Bob Baffert horse in the race, and he ended up running second. The Philly Swiss, the Skydiver, ended up beating him, and Bob Baffert was livid. And he goes, what's the matter? He goes, I was sitting off your other horse. He goes, you just got to go, man. You got to show that speed, man. He goes, you went, they were going 46. He goes, well, what do you want me to do? Go 45, man. Bottom them out. And that's the Bob Baffert kind of mentality. If you have speed, use it. And like I said, Brad Cox is kind of that similar thought process. It's worked out very well for them. They're winning a lot of Grade 1 races using that strategy. So The rubber's going to meet the road, so to speak, here on Saturday, and we'll see after the first quarter mile, half mile, where everybody sits.
Should be fun. And what time does that go off? Are you able to watch it like at a normal time?
I don't know. It'll be 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that. I'm sure I'll be up.
Seven
Look,
fifteen Eastern.
the 7:15.
Yeah.
So it'll be 3:15 in the morning here. Look, hopefully we'll still be up celebrating. Oh. No, that's tomorrow night, right?
Yeah, that's tomorrow.
Yeah. We'll see. But it's one of those things where when you're passionate about racing, and it's funny because back in the day, you can listen to the stretch call and call the 1-800 number, listen to the stretch call, or
yeah.
maybe you saw a replay of something black and white. I mean, I can go to sleep, wake up, and watch the replay, and it's fine. But there's something if you're a racing fanatic, right? That's really where that word fanatic came from. Is being a lunatic, right? If you're a soccer hooligan, a lunatic, whatever, there's something about you that you'll set your alarm, or I'll set my alarm for 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll wake up and I'll watch the race live because I want to watch the race. I want to see. And to be honest with you, I'll be up because I want to watch Hoosier Philly the race before. So it's it's that time of the year. It's a lot of fun. It's contagious. Hopefully the fans of the show feel the same way we do, and they enjoy it, and they enjoy what we do, and enjoy the races, and hopefully we pick some winners for them.
And let us know. Yeah, let us know if you have any other questions or comments regarding any of the races that are coming up, or any of the races that we've talked about that will help you to handicap the big races coming up, because there's a lot of them, and we're going to be here every step of the way, including next week. Maybe we'll be able to record next Thursday, like you said before. The sooner we can get this out of the way, the better, before your big race, before the Saudi Cup, a week from Saturday. And then you're back here, of course, after that, as things really start to heat up. As we said, in 2 weeks, the first Saturday of March, you have those 3 big prep races, including the Gotham. So can't wait for that. Rebel is next Saturday, including, of course, your big race. So, by the way, how can we see the Saudi Cup?
I think it's on Fox Sports.
Oh, it will be. Okay.
I'm 95% sure it's on Fox Sports with Nick Luck and Michelle Yu.
Okay. Check that out for sure.
Oh.
Excellent. As always, Chad, I appreciate your time from Saudi Arabia. We'll talk to you next week.
Have a good one, Greg.